Unfortunately, when you buy into the slave mind programming, you not become the kind of man who can easily attract a woman, because you're not attracted to females as a whole. So how do you satisfy yourself? You end up sitting there staring at a screen, and they convince you that's a good life to live as a man, and that's perfectly fine and perfectly normal. And you don't even get to genetically reproduce. I do believe in absolute and utter self-accountability as a man. I think as a man, everything that happens to you is your fault. Me going to jail was my fault. Me being attacked online was my fault. If all these bad things that happened to me, I will take responsibility for, even if I believe they were unfair or unjust. And I think that any man who's going to sit there and say, I'm struggling, he also needs to wake up and understand that if you're going to truly struggle to not click on a website, then you're going to deserve the terrible life you're going to live. The devil or the matrix, or whatever you want to call them, are going to fill your life with temptations. They're going to fill your life with easy way outs that they're going to want you to take, because the good road is usually the hardest road. And if you're going to continue to fall for them, then you're going to have to suffer the consequences of that. It's certainly difficult that pornography is everywhere and men are struggling with it. But to me, what's even more upsetting is that these men don't have enough fortitude and enough mental strength to wake up and say, I'm better than that. When you attack a man's mental fortitude on one issue, you attack it on all issues. This is why it's done purposefully. To resist a slave mind, you need to be able to resist in the first place. How can you resist a slave mind if you have no physicality, you have no willpower, no ability to mentally resist anything? Well, then what you're going to end up doing, you're going to end up eating the bugs and watching the porn and sitting in front of your computer. And that's what they want from people. So I think that it's actually all very interconnected. People come at me with the porn problem, and I get the same thing. Guys say to me all the time, hey, what should I do? I struggle with pornography. And I say, that's because you have nothing else in your life in order. If you were in good physical condition, and you had the money you were supposed to have, and you had the mentality you were supposed to have, you wouldn't need it. So the reason you're so addicted to porn is because everything else in your life is a failure. When men truly wake up and decide to be the best versions of themselves, they're hard to control, because all these control mechanisms fall by the wayside. They don't want the porn anymore, they don't want the antidepressants anymore, they don't want the garbage anymore. And now you have a whole bunch of men who actually want truth and honor and respect, and they want to live for something. And then what are they going to live for? They're going to want to be brave. They're going to want to do the right thing, regardless of how dangerous it may be for their own personal circumstance. And that sounds like a difficult population to enslave.
I think everybody has a fire inside of them, but it's pacified. It's deliberately extinguished by society because, one, the matrix wants you docile, which is the first thing. And second thing is people live lives of comfort. A lot of people, I think all men are born with a masculine desire to conquer Earth. And I think you're only going to be happy if you're conquering. But if you're living a semi-comfortable life and your mother is nice to you and you're not under any pressure and the matrix is telling you it's fine to just be average, well, then you're going to be sitting there being average. I was never comforted. I was never given an easy life. I never had anyone in my life who was saying, don't worry, Andrew, it's okay to just be this guy. I was told the opposite all the time. I don't know if the fire inside of me is any bigger than it is inside of every other man. And I think that every man at home watching this, if they don't have the things they want in life, should feel a degree of resentment towards themselves or disappointment, understanding that they have the same desire and drive that I have. They just allowed themselves to be psyoped out of it. They've allowed the matrix or whoever to convince them it's okay to not be the man they could be. And I never allowed anybody to do that to me.
Is happiness the purpose of life?
No, absolutely not. The purpose of life is to be competent and successful. If you try and base your life and your mentality purely around how happy you are, you'll end up hedonistic and destroyed.
Are entrepreneurs narcissists?
I think you need to be narcissistic to a degree to believe in yourself. I've never seen somebody who gets to the top of the world or the universe in any field who did not have absolutely an utter belief in themselves.
What big thing have you been wrong about in the last 12 months?
I'm never wrong, ever. Because all the times I was wrong, I have punished myself severely. Most humans don't do that. So I can't think of anything I've been wrong about in the last 12 months. It's been years and years and years since I got a call wrong. Like I said, my mental model is designed at predicting the future flawlessly. Most people are happy to be wrong and they don't even apologize to the world or punish themselves for it.
What are you looking at life for? Are you looking at life to be as comfortable as possible, or are you looking at life for the challenges and for the stories? I would argue that if Tristan went to jail without me, I would have been very jealous. If he told me what he went through, I would have been jealous of him. Wow, that sounds cool. That sounds fun. There's some people who want to go through life and be as comfortable as possible, but if you're the kind of person who wants to challenge yourself, I'd argue that being thrown in a Romanian dungeon is a challenge. Being thrown off the back of living the most luxurious life that money can afford is a challenge. Trying to find a way to escape and preserve your mental rigidity is a challenge. And I'm very glad God gave it to me.